Changing the screen on a Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. This is the SM-G955F. I never wanted to get into phone repairs because I've seen a lot of repairs and they look pretty hard. It's actually iPhone repairs that turned me off because they use a very convoluted design to stop people fixing them, and that makes them very hard to fix. I bought this cracked phone because I'm starting to take pictures for my comedy blog. I also have to replace my old phone because 3G is going to be cut soon, lol. And I don't mind cracked screen phones so long as they fully work. If it breaks or you get robbed, you're not going to care. The problem was, this a-hole never told me that it glitches after 5 minutes. The 5-minute window was good enough to take the quick snaps that I do, but after a couple of weeks, it's now unusable. So naturally I start researching screen replacement and parts, and that's when the reality of the situation hits you. Basically, the cost of the screen alone will cost more than buying a working second-hand phone. Like if you want a second-hand original Super AMOLED with no faults, they're about $100 plus. Whereas a whole phone with no faults is about $150 second-hand. A working phone with this amount of marks would be about $70. Ignore the black marks, but this amount of pink burn-in on a phone wouldn't really affect the price. But this heavy pink burn-in would. A quick look at sold prices. Cracked phone, fully working, $53. Slight pink burn-in, a crack in a spot, $73. A lot of burn-in, slight crack, $52. Screen fine, cracked back, $78. Basically, even the cheapest screens on Ali are unviable. And that's not to mention you can't have black spots in the top corners because that blocks critical information. And you can't have black blobs on the bottom section or you won't see the keys of the keyboard. If you want to risk sight unseen but cheap, you can try these lottery ones. You can see what people got in the reviews, but it is a lottery. There are new, lower quality TFT versions of the Super AMOLEDs, but they are not really cheap enough to make it viable. When I found out it was unviable to fix this thing, I tried to sell it, but not even repairers would return my emails with an offer. I was going to toss it and cop the $30 loss, but I kept scouring Ali and something reasonable did turn up. At $31 I'm still taking a loss, but I figured at least I'll be learning something. I used Repairs Universe's video to do mine, and his is way better than mine if you want to do an actual screen replacement on an S8 Plus. Mine will be more trials and tribulations and fine points, basically the problems that was different from his video. Pop the SIM card tray, set hot air to something hot, I went with 400 degrees C, then heat the back. In most videos they just show the edge being heated, but there is double-sided tape on most of the back, so you'll have to heat the middle as well. When it feels quite hot, start prying it apart. I tried GSM's Lititism's temp gun, but I had the emissivity set wrong and I couldn't change it, so I just used my hand. It's not advisable to use metal spudges to open phones, at least not to insert them deep into phones as it can break parts off PCBs. iPhone is notorious for having unprotected parts near the edge of a PCB in the hopes that you'll break them off and destroy it. Or worse, you stab the battery and this thing explodes in your face. The back cover's pretty mutilated now, so I ordered another one. We removed the 15 screws, but keep them in the same pattern that you took them out at. Basically you want to put the screws in their original holes until you establish they're all the same size screw. iPhone is notorious for having different length screws, and if you put a long screw in a short hole, you'll absolutely mutilate the PCB. This looks bad, but I've seen screws punch through the layers of the PCB. STS Telecom is one of my favourite repair channels, so check him out. Gently unstick the bottom half of the wireless charger. The top half is connected to this plastic cover, so we have to pry the cover out. Then it's this side cover, and next is the bottom cover. We disconnect the battery, and then we have to take the battery out. This thing was glued down hard, and I had trouble getting it out. I couldn't budge this thing without bending it, so I IPA'd it and hoped the glue would soften up. In the end I had to resort to a steel spudger while trying not to put too much force onto it. Eventually it gave way a little on this side, and when I took the battery out there was less glue over there. This might be where I stuffed up, because I continued with the video and stripped the phone bare when I probably could have just disconnected the screen cable and hot aired the screen off. Next we disconnect 3 ribbon cables and 1 wire, a small one at the top right, a small one below the display cable connector, the large screen connector, the antenna wire. We pry out the main board. It's kind of hooked under the top, so you have to pull it out sideways. Next we remove the 5 screws of the lower PCB. Keep them in order just in case. Next we remove the lower PCB. This was a mongrel compared to the video to get out. It's 2 separate PCBs connected by this black flat cable thing, and on top of that it's stuck down. You just have to gently pry it up a bit at a time. What caught me off guard was the small connector below the display connector. Its ribbon cable is glued to the side of the frame and you have to kind of pry it off gently first. Once you've got the small PCB free, you start prying out the rest of it. This one's also hooked under the bottom, so you have to pull it out sideways as well. Next you have to peel this copper tape to get the sensors and status module out. You have to pry it here to lift it and then you can slide it out. Pry the speaker out from the back. The glue was too strong on the vibrator, so I had to IPA it out. Be gentle because you don't want to break its contact pads. This is where the shit hit the fan. Basically, do not take the buttons out of the frame if you're going to use the same frame. First thing, the ribbon cable is glued down. I had to IPA them to soften the glue to peel them up. It's pretty nerve-wracking because it's glued down so hard and you don't want to snap the PCB at the end of the ribbon cable. The construction is a spring frame and it has tabs in the middle and loops at the end to jam it into the switch pocket. And inside that is the switch PCB and it's supposed to come out as one assembly. In the video he pries it up from this little ledge, then moves across to this point. Of course when I try it, it jams and bends a little. I tried prying the hooked over tabs, but it was still pretty tough. You need to pry this side up, but you can't get under it because the switch is down in a pocket. I got it so crooked I couldn't get under this tab to lift up that end of it. I eventually got the low side up and grab it with pliers, but even that was tough. I reckon I spent more time on these switches than the whole phone. The smaller switch on the other side was the same story. IPA it. I pried the switch up from the bottom until the tab was exposed. I pried under the tab and the switch assembly came up. And then pry up the spring frame. Then pry off the end of the super stuck down PCB switch. The screen is the same as the back, just heat it up until it feels pretty hot. Then just crunch the crap out of it. You're not saving the thing because it's already cracked, so who cares if it cracks some more. From time to time you're going to have to reheat it again. What I didn't know at the time was this thing's not just glued on the edges, but it's got double-sided tape nearly across the whole back of it. I went all the way around it and cut all the edges free, but you can see the middle of it still holding from the double-sided tape. I butchered the display controller, but it was already broken, so who cares. This is the display they sent me, and what I didn't know at the time was most of the copper section is double-sided tape. Just follow this seam and you'll see the area. And what these guys did was put a screen protector from a smaller phone on there. You can barely see the black tab to peel it off. What you're supposed to do is clean the edges with IPA before you peel the protector off. I did it with the screen protector removed and the glue balled up and made a mess. As a side note, I was looking at the stiffness of this frame. From the number stamps, it looks like forged high-grade aluminium. And wondered how Apple got it so wrong with all their bent iPhones. Lol. Assembly. I IPA'd the frame, in case there was any garbage there. Don't IPA the top and bottom strip, because that's double-sided tape. IPA the four edges without touching the double-sided tape in the middle. I went for marine celastic, or the cheaper aquarium stuff, lol, because it cures tough, kind of like an adhesive. It sticks to a jet ski hull doing 60, so it's pretty tough. Then it's just a bead down either side. They say once you replace a screen the waterproofing is never the same, so keep that in mind. Then it's thread the ribbon through the hole and then press it on. I gently pressed it on by putting it flat on the table, and that way it has even pressure and won't crack the glass. The small button spring plate goes with the flat notches to the top and hook loops on the inside. Next is the switches, and it also has spring loops. This was hard to get in, and the trick I found was to put it in an angle with the top leaning in. Then when you get it started, straighten it up and push it all the way down. Then push the ribbon and the connector down onto the old adhesive. Then test if you can feel the clicking. Next is a large switch and its cutaways to the top, loops to the inside. Mine had a 10th hour bend, which is probably okay, but I straightened it anyway. These buttons were the same trick as the other side. Angle it in at the top, get it started, then straighten it up and push it down. And stick down the ribbon. This is where I found out my Bixby button was missing, and I checked the old videos and it was never there when I got it, so someone had taken this thing apart before. Then it'd stick the vibrator back down, then the speaker, then the sensor LED display board, then it's the lower PCB. This has a spike on it, so you'll have to angle it in before you seat it. Then you have to seat the ribbon cable on the side of the frame. Next is the 5 black screws, one up here, one on this black thing. Screw 3 and 4 go either side of the USB, and 5 is down the bottom here. Then tuck the antenna wire into its slot. Then it's the main board, and we have to plug it in first. I've seen a lot of bent pin on iPhone connectors, so you kind of have to feel till it falls into the register and then clip it together. Then it's fish out the antenna wire and also that side connector from the lower PCB. Then it's drop the PCB down and seat it. The first problem is these black things tuck under the frame, so you have to unclip them and remove them. Seat the PCB, then refit them, tucking them under the frame. Again, be careful with the connectors when you clip them back in. The small connector for the lower PCB, then clip the antenna wire back on, and the larger screen connector, then the connector near the fingerprint reader. Then there's the battery, and I just put it on top of the old glue. Then it's just plug in the connector. Then it's the lower plastic cover. It's got tabs on the side, so you have to kind of click it into the frame and force it. Then it's the top cover with wireless charger, and you have to kind of thread the fingerprint reader through the hole. Then the middle section last. And before we put the black cover back on, we test to see if it still works. Well, it's doing something, so I guess it was successful. We put back the 15 screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'll just temporarily put on the old back cover until the new one comes and the Bixby button. Apart from some annoyances, a screen change isn't that much of a deal breaker. The splodges are what I was expecting from the photos, so I can't really complain. I've been taking pictures in dark clubs for about 2 weeks, and I don't know if I'm going to keep this thing. Basically, the low light performance is not good with this thing, and zoom in low light is practically useless above 2 times. And I did some digging around, and that's pretty much what other people were saying. My cracked $5 HTC Android 6 can do pictures in low light, and zoom in low light. It's just you have to take about 8 photos of everything till you get one that's in focus. Another annoyance of this S8 is when you turn it on, it doesn't remember the last zoom it was on. My $5 HTC remembers. And when you're in a club, you need that same zoom every time you turn it on to take pictures of the comics. Total cost was $70 for the phone, the screen, the buttons and the back. And on Gumtree you'll struggle to get $50 with these faults. eBay I reckon you'll get around $55 to $65. Basically it's a loss. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles.